today. We're going to get started, and as people trickle in, I'll admit them, but we'll keep on moving. For those of you who I do not know, my name is Megan Paskey. I'm the Community Food Systems and Farm to School Coordinator here at the Indiana Department of Health in the Division of Nutrition and Physical Activity. Today we have a webinar all about highlighting the efforts in farm to early care and education. We have 3 fabulous presenters for you from all corners of the state. So we're really excited to share these different initiatives with you. Some housekeeping notes. We will go through all of our presentations and address questions at the end, but as you have questions for any of our presenters, please feel free to put them in the chat. And then at the end, we can address questions out of the chat, or we can use the hand raise function to unmute and ask questions verbally, whatever you prefer. This webinar is also being recorded, and it will be posted on the Indiana Grown for Schools website, and that goes through our YouTube channel. Right now we have one fabulous video on there, which is our last webinar that we recorded and posted. So be sure to share this link afterwards once everything is posted. With anyone who couldn't be here today, I will send out an email to the entire Farm to School listserv that the webinar is posted on the website with the link so that you guys can easily share it. Okay, so without further ado, and to allow everyone as much time as possible to present, we are going to start our presentations with Andrea and Aleyna.
Andrea, I think you muted.
Hello, everyone. I am Andrea Crawford, and I'm here with Aleyna Mitchell.
I'm Aleyna Mitchell.
We are going to tell you about Mrs. Nino's Garden, which is a partnership of El Campito Child Development Center and its neighborhood in South Bend, Indiana. And Megan, you can go ahead to our next cute picture. And we're really grateful for the invitation, and we're excited to tell you about what we're doing. We are going to highlight 4 things. We're going to tell you about the organization and the neighborhood involved. We're going to say a little bit about what we've been doing together and what we've learned. And so to start us off, and you can push to the next slide. To start us off, Aleyna, the director at El Campito, is going to tell us about this very special place.
Okay, so what is El Campito? El Campito is a high-quality nonprofit childcare center. We're located in South Bend, Indiana. We boast a long list of credentials, including being completely bilingual. We are level 4 PAS to quality, fully licensed, and we're NACCE accredited, which is less than 10% of ECE centers nationwide. We were founded.
Next slide. And you'll get a nice picture of it.
Yeah, take a look. It's really cute. Yep, there it is. We were founded by Concepcion and Ignacio Nino in 1970. They started it for the children of migrant workers, hence the name. The parents would go to El Campo, the field, and the children would go to El Campito, the little field. The focus was and continues to be on children of migrant workers, as well as low-income families. They started it out of their home, and it grew and grew. They bought a second house. They bought a small brick-and-mortar building. And then in 1986, St. Stephen's Church donated their old school building on Thomas Street, where we still reside today. We pride ourselves on being able to provide the best quality of care to those in our community who never would have been able to access it otherwise.
And Megan, you should go to the next slide.
That's in the back, Mr. and Mrs. Nino, in the back right, you can see them. They were involved right up to the end, as long as they could be.
And so this very special place is located in what's known as the Near West Side neighborhood of South Bend, and that's just to the west of downtown. And our neighborhood, sort of loosely associated into these basically grassroots organizations. Our neighborhood is comprised of about 500 to 600 households the vast majority of which are Black and brown. So it's about 65% African American and 25% Latinx. I'm sorry, 10% Latinx and 25% white. And more than half of the residents have low or moderate incomes with like a $24,000 median household income. It is also part of a National Historic District. El Campito sits adjacent to the campus of the History Museum, which includes the mansion of the Oliver family of the famous Oliver Plow, and the Studebaker National Museum. And so the neighborhood had long been home to working class families, to immigrant communities. St. Stephen's, which donated the building to El Campito, was a Hungarian parish, and nearby remain parishes of Irish and Polish origins. And one of South Bend's earliest school buildings from the 19th century was on this site that you can see right here, just to the west of the school, or to the east of the school. But over the 20th century, like so many urban neighborhoods, this one fell into disrepair, deliberate disrepair, through federal practices called or known as redlining, which was the government not backing mortgages in areas where immigrants and African Americans lived. So actual maps show this, and you can see the maps from the 1930s. Half of this lot was yellow and half was red, yellow meaning declining because of the number of immigrants living there. And the neighborhood still bears the mark of that racist history of those policies. It is a very special piece of land. It's this classic urban neighborhood where we often call them empty or vacant lots, but in fact, there are layers and layers of history and story that happen here. And so our neighborhood organization and the people who live around this land have wondered, what could we do together, like to regenerate land, community, health, well-being. We knew that El Campito was an absolute gem in our neighborhood, both as a physical site, that it's in this 100-year-old school that is still educating children as it was intended to do, and this organization of incredibly high quality and really rich history itself. And so we suspected that we could take this acre of land that was half broken asphalt and half unused lawn and create something as special as the Niños founding vision had been. And so it was very appealing for neighbors to reach out to El Campito to see if they were interested in partnering. And now I'm going to let Aleyna tell us why such a partnership would have been appealing to El Campito.
Yes, so of course. So we follow the high scope curriculum. The garden correlates with high scope beautifully. High scope is research-based, whole child-centered, and curiosity-driven. The focus is on hands-on learning and following the children's interests. The garden offers learning opportunities beyond what the children could do in the classroom, while also offering the chance to interact with nature, which has been proven to be a successful building block for trauma-informed care in children as well as adults. And El Campito saw that a partnership with the neighborhood would be a rich experience for the community as well as for our own families and students, and that we're so happy we did.
So when a group of us reached out to Aleyna's predecessor, we began this process, and it was in the fall of 2019, and set out some shared values. We wanted a process, a building that would be inclusive, collaborative, anti-racist in its practices. We wanted to be educating and inspiring in every step of the way to build community. We wanted to be ecologically regenerative and sustainable financially. And we wanted to make sure that we had culturally appropriate food and growing practices, and wide neighborhood input and input from teachers, staff, families, children at El Campito. And so we began planning this slow process and began scheduling meetings that we would be having. And this was happening in January, February of 2020. And then all of a sudden, pandemic hit. And all of a sudden, we just shifted gears very quickly and thought, let's get seeds in the ground. Let's just grow food. You can forward to the next slide. So in that first year, we had neighbors coming out on Saturdays to break ground, build soil. We got donated plants from whoever had extra seeds. Teachers at El Campito would bring the children out when they could. It wasn't anything organized. So whenever they could, and at that point, without a fence, they were essentially leaving El Campito's fenced-in area. So I think they actually did need permission slips.
We had to get permission slips, yes, even though it was our land.
Exactly. So we just wanted to do something that felt good in that first summer of pandemic, and it was an incredible thing because we were able to be outside safely together doing something that felt productive. And so we had a wonderful first season. The second year, last year, we really took things to a different level, and you can go to the next slide. This is our neighbors building that, the first beds that first season. The next slide. And that was as far as we got that year. So two major things happened. The first was that we got greater involvement from the children. And so that was the spring of 2021. And the school-age kids at El Campito, who are between 5 and 10 years old, usually are there for the before and after school programming. And they were e-learning. So they were there at El Campito all day long doing their regular school online. And so we took that opportunity to give them some activities that got them away from computers. And an urban farmer who is taking a sabbatical loaned us his entire seed starting setup. So we had grow lights, towers, heat mats, and converted a classroom into essentially a propagation setup. And the kids were choosing what seeds they wanted. We had a lot of colorful options. If it was between green and purple, they were always choosing purple. But they really took ownership of the plants. Everything that we had in the field that second year, they had started from seeds. So that was really incredible. And Aleyna, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes. I just wanted to say having Mrs. Nino's garden proved to be such a blessing during the pandemic, with everything turned upside down in the supply chain, as well as like job insecurity and everything like that. Having local, fresh, free produce available for our families and the wider community was a game changer. As well as having something healthy to eat, families were able to also even represent their own culture through cooking. Like, for example, one day we had a big basket of okra, and one of the moms said, why isn't anyone taking this yet? And I was like, well, honestly, I don't even know how to make okra. I don't know if maybe anybody knows how to make okra. And so she took it home and she cooked it using an old family recipe, and her 3-year-old daughter got to experience it for the first time just the way that she had had it as a child. And that would not have happened without the garden. And like what I love about involving the school-age children in seed starting is that the children are empowered to be a part of the food growing process, and they have gained gardening skill over the past few years. So their time learning from Andrea and other farmers, gardeners, can be all the richer because they know what they're talking about. And that kind of long-term recall is a huge tenet of high school park curriculum, as well as it promotes neurological growth, and it stimulates those parts of the brain to build those stronger connections. And they are learning this stuff for life and not just for a summer.
It's been great. It's been great to see. So you can move to the next slide. the second thing that happened last season, in our second season, that completely changed our capacity was that a city engineer who teaches a class at Notre Dame came to our neighborhood organization meeting and offered their services, basically asked what we had going on in the neighborhood, to see if a year-long engineering course would want to take on any of our projects. And so one of the things that we noted that was going on in the neighborhood was this garden, and noted, as any farmer and gardener knows, that in our first year, watering was an issue. We were carrying all the water from the building out to where we were growing food. So many hours were spent just watering. So that was music to the ears of an engineering class. And they spent 2 semesters building an irrigation system for us. What was incredible, though, in addition to that, was that the class was taught by a city engineer who knew that she could help the neighborhood have access to community development funds. And so we tapped into city water, have a drip irrigation system, and through the community investments of about $50,000, also got a fence built, which changed things for El Campito, because now the kids can enter that land through their playground without actually leaving their site. So that helps.
No more permission slips.
Exactly. And El Campito agreed to leave the fencing then open. They can lock their playground and facilities and then leave the garden open for the public. So that's been a real game changer for us. And you can go to the next slide. So we doubled our growing space with all that extra water. We had student groups come, and then these are neighborhood kids who are really into soil building when it involves wetting cardboard down and laying it on very short grass. That is an excellent activity for the young people in the neighborhood. And then this year, we're entering our 3rd year, and you can go to the next slide. And we have a lot more going on as well. The kids, the school-age kids, spent their spring break. They were there all day during spring break, assessing what they had done last year, making notes about what they liked and what they didn't like, and getting much more involved in the crop planning. As much as anyone, they adore seed catalogs. That's always an exciting moment when we get to open those up and they start to plan what they want. And then we also have a program that we're starting with the Regional Migrant Services Center that's run out of South Bend, that covers the northern third of the state. And there are teens whose families move for work who get additional support through this program. And they're now being trained this spring in sustainable agriculture, and will be, after successful completion of that program, will be spending 5 weeks with us, essentially as camp counselors, learning themselves, but also then getting the younger kids involved who are there during the summer, and sort of elevating the planning process to involve like what else neighbors and El Campito kids would want to see in that space of almost an acre. And you can move. The final thing that we should say is just to sort of summarize the things that we've learned, which is that honoring the past is a really powerful thing to do. You learn from your failures, but you also sort of learn from the strengths, the power of story, the power of history, and certainly with our partnership with El Campito, and the values and history that they bring has really been a powerful thing to see happen. It's always good to make friends. El Campito, there's more happening at that garden than El Campito could have done alone. And we, the neighborhood, could not have pulled this off on ourselves either. So there's a lot more that can happen when you join forces, and also, relying on the kids and their families and the experiences that they bring, the sort of, the family experiences they have growing foods, and what they've learned from their own elders is a really valuable thing to keep sharing with others. The process for us has been as important as the product. There's trauma in neighborhoods also, and we want this project to have a process that's healing, and that's collaborative and based on those shared values that we enumerated at the beginning. And then finally, so many times school gardens are the pet project of a single teacher or a single volunteer or a single director. And so it was very important from the beginning to create structures, a committee made up of both El Campito people and the neighborhood, so that no director or no one volunteer could leave and have this whole thing fall apart. So that's been a really important part for the sustainability of this. And then just finally, for our last thing, I would say, looking to the future. You can move to the next slide. Looking to, and go on to the next one. I love that seed collecting is cute. Our immediate goals are better distribution. We harvest on Fridays, but again, that's volunteers who are doing that, and leaving food in El Campito so it can be picked up when the kids are picked up. The kids at El Campito and in the neighborhood are very interested in building a playground in that's a natural, like nature-based playscape. We would love to proceed, or to figure out how we could turn our garden into a farm that might financially sustain the operation, so we're not dependent on volunteers and grants. And finally, we really want to be doing more sharing of meals and cultures with the food that we're growing together. And we thank you for inviting us and for listening to our presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Aleyna and Andrea, for
you can move to the next slide for a final cute.
Fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for sharing this with us. This is an incredible operation, and I feel really thankful that you guys agreed to share this with everyone today. And just for everyone's information, I will share everyone's contact information when I share the recording. So if anyone needs their contact information earlier than that, please request it in the chat. And as a reminder, any questions you have for Aleyna and Andrea can be put in the chat, and we will revisit them later after all of our presentations are completed. So next we have Allison Kempers joining us, and we will move on to her presentation. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to present on a passionate topic about, science and early childhood, integrating nature. The last presenters, that was awesome, completely engaging, and enjoyed learning that too as well. Again, Allison Kempers, curriculum coach and educator at the Wayne Township Preschool in MSD of Wayne Township in Indianapolis, Indiana. And my motto is peace, love, and nature. And my symbol is the bow. It kind of ties us together with our uniquenesses. Again, being able to be here and talk about science, thinking about the hands-on approach, this presentation is going to be very hands-on. So if you want to do next slide too. The approach that I have is we all learn better with hands-on experiences. Why not add these to the presentation? So I'll show you a little bit about, we'll really interact together. Goals. The goals for this one is talking about the benefits of adding science investigations into the classroom, easy ways to integrate science in your instruction, and also talking about grant funding tips. We all want to know those tips and some of those opportunities, but also staff and parent involvement. If we're doing amazing science and adding these natural playscapes and gardens, we want to know how we can involve everyone and get that buy-in, and also be a part of all the science that happens in our building too as well. At Wayne Township Preschool, where I am, currently we serve 476 students, and we're at about a 61% special ed population. We are level 4 pass to quality, and we're fully licensed in NACE and state licensing as well. We also use the high scope curriculum and value that hands-on approach with our students, and being able to really learn from meaningful exploration as well as student interests as well. We also, at our school, we're an urban school in Indianapolis, and we have the Indianapolis Children's Choir comes to our school as well, and we just have a lot of really awesome community resources and partnerships that we share, and I can't wait to talk about a few with you. Next slide. So we all know there's amazing benefits by adding nature and science investigations into your day, but we also know that the outcomes are great in every area of curriculum. We can look at those meaningful experiences and those hands-on approaches and really look at the growth in our students if we make it fun and make it exciting. And we have this opportunity to spark this interest and love of our natural world and science with our students and faculty. If we model that in our curriculum, these students are going to be so excited and looking at ways to explore science throughout their lives and also at home. But we know that those meaningful interactions with nature are just so profound. As I look back on when I was little, I remember going outside and interacting. Some of the pictures that you see here in this slide is us interacting in our learning garden, starting that out. But also, I have axolotls in the classroom and a variety of pets. And being able to be the curriculum coach, being able to bring those in to every student in our building has been an amazing experience, just being able to see and investigate real animals in the classroom as well. But also adding materials like microscopes, magnifying glasses, and just really, really intentional materials in every classroom. Those are some ideas that might be able to work in your program or integrate throughout your day, was making those materials very intentional. We also, the students and staff, gain appreciation for our planet. We're approaching Earth Day, so why not go outside and experience the Earth? Bring out those journals, those pencils and pens. Look up at the sky. Take your notes and do some journaling outside, or just experiencing what you have in your area. But how exciting is that to talk about our planet, but also talk about the different seasons? We all know the value of going outside and playing, so why not add your story time outside if you have a space for that? You see some trees that might be able to be climbed. Add those experiences in there, embed that into your day and the curriculum. Next slide. I'm just real excited. I'm talking real fast. I'll slow down. But here's some ways to integrate science into your day. We had some sticks and some stalks left over from sunflowers outside in our learning garden. Our class, I have a learning lab in the morning and the afternoon I coach. And so being able to go out daily and see that learning garden and experience that. We had some geese going by in that photo. The student was so excited about just birds, really sparked a provocation in birds, really went deep into flight. And so the top picture would be our axolotl investigation as well, being able to really see that life cycle put into fruition, seeing the egg to adult, but being able to make those teepees. Those students wanted some, and then we used my mask to kind of tie it together. This was earlier in the year, but my coat for some structure. But using what you have around in those materials that are available, you don't have to get fancy. Just use whatever is out there. You can add leaves and see how those students, how they kind of make their own magic with science. But we have a learning garden at the WTP and in Wayne Township Preschool, but I'll go ahead and get into that too. Classroom gardening. There's a lot of opportunities to go low budget. You can also use those milk cartons, wash them out pretty well. You could use cups. We're all about upcycling in here. So if you could use trash to treasures is always a really good option. You can go low budget, but a worm farm. This is one of my favorite investigations to do here, and I have one right here that the students have created. But bringing those worm farms into the classroom, all you need is a tub, soil, and you could go outside and grab, after it's been raining, worms. The students have really enjoyed just journaling, measuring, math, adding that into your instruction. But I know some teachers aren't exactly into worms, but you know what? I've noticed that kids are excited, teachers are excited, and we've really seen a lot of really nice math come out of that lesson. Anybody can make a worm farm, pretty easy. You just need soil, a container, and some food. You could expand it into compost bins outside. I've seen it done that way as well. But really, we can teach all content areas outside and inside, but embedding the science and nature STEM into the day by experiential learning. We can fit it into those preschool foundations, into the standards as well, but also adding those cultural connections with families. And really, we've spent the last couple years really diving deep into the curriculum and looking at, it through an equity lens. And this is where the farm connection, bringing in those recipes, really, connecting with families about different foods, different cultures, traditions that they do in their house, but bringing that into the classroom. Something that's been kind of nice is being able to have families jump on a Google Meet or jump on Zoom and share their experiences at home. That's been kind of a nice thing that an option for families that are working, but being able to really share and involve those families in a different way rather than the traditional come in the classroom. But why not have them jump on a Zoom? It's been kind of the bright side of this pandemic, is being able to find new ways. I mean, we're sitting here now being able to share some ideas too. Next slide. Our Learning Garden. The Learning Garden has been an amazing, amazing experience. And again, it takes time, it takes resources and patience, and a lot of staff and community involvement and support. But again, being able to plan, sustain, and build that learning garden for the community and for our students and staff to experience has been a rewarding opportunity for everyone. Again, it's taking a lot of volunteers and time and support. Here's a student up here, measuring it out and planting the seeds. And what's kind of neat about our learning garden too is we have a lot of tree cookies, a lot of looking for worms every day is their usual go-to, pushing over logs and stumps, making it and they put it right back for the next class, which is beautiful. But being able to really engage in that space, adding our fence was critical. I know the last presenters had mentioned the fence, but making sure that our special ed students and our general ed students, we have 3, 4, and 5-year-olds in a multi-age classroom. We also have a couple different, we have a developmental classroom and we have a community classroom, which is inclusion, special ed inclusion. But we also have another option we have a variety of options for students in our building, depending on their needs. But having that fence was also allowed more staff and more faculty to feel comfortable bringing out their students into that defined space. And so that was clutch this year, adding that fence. I know our committee chair, as well as our committee, worked really hard to make that happen so we could have all students be able to feel included and utilize that space. We have natural pollinators, and we really added a really nice natural space for butterflies and natural pollinators. Like, we had a lot of milkweed. We really can't wait to see that grow this year too. But our math instruction data, I know in my classroom, really kicked up, being able to go outside, be able to add math, embedded out in that learning garden. I saw some pretty awesome growth in the math instruction, just with measuring, adding those tools. Estimation and subsidizing was huge. Just the journey outside, being able to count things and do basic estimation is, and then, the dialogue, working on students who have more communication needs, being able to gauge an excitement has really, really benefited our students too. Let's see. Okay, next slide. I know I'm trying to. Here's some pictures of our learning garden. We're really proud of it, our before and our after photos. Last year at the end, we had quite a harvest that we got to share with the child care kids over the summer. A lot of our just tomatoes. The end of the year, we really got to share the beginning of the year as well. But if you can notice too, we had really giant onions. We added a shed. We added a lot of different elements to our garden that really enhanced the success rate. Volunteers, we had volunteers come in from New Fields. They came in and a native plant group. Knowing your networks, being able to tap into people that have a specific skill subset, be able to have all that mulch donated. So it's who you know. So reach out to your staff and your faculty and find out who may have connections in these areas. You could find it, either free. People are willing to donate time, especially with a project this deep and meaningful for our students and staff and our community. But we had a lot of tomatoes, a lot of cucumbers. I know that we were able to just eat snap peas off the vine. I mean, it was just so neat to bring in that food for the students to enjoy and take it home for the families. It was just, like I said, the fruits of the labor and the team and our, we just had a really good vision, and the team was an excellent part of that. So, and our chair, she's really goal focused. So having also a person who really has a vision and can keep us on target was clutch, and I think making this a success. Next slide. Classroom gardening and science too. I talked a little bit about the worm farm as well, but using those science journals, being able to go outside and document things. You'll see some pictures here, bringing in stuff from the garden and our nature walks on campus and making art. We had made this owl using acorns and sticks, and use what you have and you can actually use it for art. And you can see some of our kids journaling in the garden. And so being able to use writing and drawing in a variety of ways really gets these kids and the grown-ups excited about it as well. The collaboration with the district human nutrition department, bringing in books and materials and lessons, but also some growing different vessels to grow plants and some pots and some variety of options. So if you can partner up with human nutrition, and they can help you really bring in those resources into the classroom. Next slide. Here's some pictures of some of the nature things we've done at our preschool. And again, having the opportunity to collaborate with the district science coordinator, my mentor, the amazing Mr. Crosland. He has a lot of videos. It would be Rick Crosland Science on YouTube as well, but being able to be a part of Indiana Expeditions, he did some programs through WFYI as well. But our rats, when I talk about experiential presentations, we have classroom rats, actually more like building rats. And so being able to bring these fellers into the building, we talk about behavioral strategies, kids that are feeling a little bit sad, having some problems maybe with, executive functioning, or these guys I have had one text today, hey Kempers, how about bringing in sorrel? This is sorrel. And the kids love them. Of course, proper hand washing, making sure they're, you're following the parameters of the licensing codes, but making sure that, just having a little cuddle time with an animal is very comforting to some children. And this is one of the best behavioral tools right here, I'm going to tell you, classroom pets. And then you'll see our cage up here. We have plexiglass put into it as well to make sure that we're up to code for licensing. We got to always follow those rules. But making sure we have insects in the classroom too. But grant funding tips, I've went ahead and included those as well. Donors Choose. Our building has got over 80,000 in grants this year for our whole school. Write those grants. Right now they're offering a match, I believe, on PNC for early childhood literacy. Go on today, get those grants started. Pets in your classroom, go ahead and apply for that. You never know, free tanks, some other, look and see. I think I've gotten a few tanks from Pets in Your Classroom for free as well. And, Indiana Department of Health is offering some grants too. Research that as well. Department of Forestry, and also private donors. find out from your staff and your families. They may have those resources for you. Some of the references that I've, NSTA, the science teachers, and then also NACI as well. But again, if you have any questions or any, ideas on how to make things like the garden glove, worm farms, or how to integrate science in your classrooms or in your buildings, feel free to reach out. Again, living the dream, and I'm here to support your science endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison, for sharing your presentation with us and all of the amazing fun things that you guys get to do in your classroom settings. I know that the rat was a hit over here in the office. Everyone is talking about it over here. Okay, we are going to journey all the way down to the southwestern part of the state with Krista now. Let me pull up her slides and then I will share. Okay. Ooh, hold on. I lost you all when I went to share. Okay, let's share the screen. See what we can get. Okay, do we all see that? Are we good? Okay, take it away, Krista.
Okay, first I want to say I'm not sure how I can follow up that beautiful rat. So I feel like it's a little unfair, but that was wonderful, as was the first presentation. So that's amazing work that's happening in our state, and I'm really happy to hear about it. I am honored to be presenting to you today regarding some nutrition initiatives that we've done at our center. To give you just some quick background, St. Vincent Early Learning Center is an NACI accredited program in Evansville, Indiana, focusing on child-centered education using a foundation of social emotional learning and the Reggio Emilia approach, all of which inspire us to help create authentic, imaginative play and to ensure that children receive personalized experiences. We are the oldest early childhood center in our community and the second oldest in the state of Indiana. We will be celebrating our 104th birthday this November, right before Thanksgiving. We were founded during World War I as women were entering the workforce by the Ladies of Charity, and are now a sponsored work of the Daughters of Charity. So we are extremely proud to be part of a legacy that dates back even further than our 104 years to over 400 years ago in France. Next slide. So St. Vincent Early Learning Center takes serious pride in partnering with our local organizations in many, many different ways. Most notably, we are very fortunate that one of our cousins, and so I will define cousins by being another sponsored work of the Daughters of Charity, is a sharecrop farm on the west side of our town. Seaton Harvest is a community-supported ag initiative that shares locally, naturally grown food with shareholders and also with persons who are financially under-resourced or are hungry in our community. For the last decade or so, they bring us weekly or bi-weekly extras from their harvests to share with our staff, our families, and our children. The picture there of all the food is actually Farmer Joe, and yes, his name is Farmer Joe, and we love him so much. He's actually bringing over fresh veggies, and I am sure that you can imagine how fun it is to watch children coming to see what's been added to our buckets, and their level of excitement when they're asking, Mama, Daddy, can we take some home and eat it? And they get to bag everything up themselves and proudly carry it out of our center to eat later at home with their family. So we are just one of more than 10 organizations that Seaton shares crops with. They also bring their food truck by during special times so staff and families can shop for produce directly from the source without making an extra trip to another side of town or even paying for a share. So all of this is free to our families. A few other partnerships to note: we work with our local food pantry to bring in items each week that we can send directly out with our families at no cost. Things like healthy perishables, so spaghetti and applesauce. items that, again, the children are excited to see as they're leaving for the day, and that also give us some hope that families will not only eat together, but they will cook together that evening or shortly thereafter with what we've provided. Lastly, the local food pantry consortium is one of our office tenants in a separate part of our building. So we've had a very long time close relationship supporting each other as we both assist those in our community who might need a little extra help. We can go to the next slide. A relatively simple area where we've been able to make some changes, especially in the last few years, is what we serve children on our menu. We participate, as I'm sure a lot of centers do, in the Child and Adult Care Food Program, which means there are standards, of course, that we must abide by, but we always try to go above and beyond them. So almost every grain that we offer at our center is considered whole grain for all the meals. We offer and serve seasonal fresh fruit and vegetables every chance we get. My personal favorite to see on the menu is kiwi. The children love kiwi, although it's not necessarily fun to cut up and prepare for the children, but we are happy to see them eat it during lunch. We've also surprised kids by having jicama on our menu for several cycles, and that was very fun to see them explore. We think it is critical for children this age to have access to new foods continually. And we understand that it may take a few taste testings before something new becomes a favorite. So jicama was definitely one of those ones that went from what in the world is on my plate to when are we having jicama fries again? So takes a little time, but of course we keep trying. We have very little processed food on our menu, and I say that generally. The last year or so with COVID has not been kind to our supply chains or our staffing, so we have been getting a little creative over the last year. And we absolutely limit sugar. So we only have sugar on our menu that occurs naturally in the foods that we serve. We cook homemade meals, which the kids love, and we've even incorporated family recipes from our enrolled children into our menus. So several times throughout the year, we'll ask family members to share their recipes, and our food services manager adjusts them for large groups and then shares with the whole center, which is absolutely a hit with both the child, who is super proud to have their family recipe being shared with 175 children in our center. So it's amazing, and the families are so happy to share. Next slide. So what's really exciting is what has been happening within our classrooms over the years. Children exhibit, obviously, a natural curiosity about outdoor life. And part of our philosophy at St. Vincent means that we consider the environment a teacher for the children. I am very proud to say that we have transformed one preschool playground into a certified Nature Explorer outdoor classroom, and we are now working to create the same type of space for one of our toddler playgrounds. It's my goal that within the next 3 to 5 years, every outdoor space that our children access at St. Vincent will be a natural classroom for them to explore. We want kids to see how things grow from start to finish and foster an appreciation for nature, and also develop a sense of responsibility and connection to take care of our earth. So we're definitely talking about and teaching stewardship to all of our children. We are extremely proud that we can offer these spaces because many of our children that we care for do not have green space where they live. Many live in apartments, many do not have front and backyards in their own homes, and many have limited, if any, time to visit parks or natural landscapes. So we're very proud to be able to offer these spaces. Children have done oodles of gardening outside, all from their own natural insights or curiosity. So it very much is child-centered, child-led for exploring certain plants. They have planted seeds, watered them, nurtured them, talked to them, sung to them, played music to them, and are so amazed when they see their expectations come to fruition. Once ready, the next step is to pick and taste. So seeds have turned into classroom projects, and those projects are complete after eating the literal fruits of their labor. We hope to get back to field trips and be able to take children to seed and harvest local orchards and farms as we have done in the past. And we also plan to bring in our special presenters back once we're able to have visitors. We've had master gardeners, local nutrition organizations, and others come to share with our kiddos. So we will be very excited once that can happen again. My presentation was very short and sweet, but thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share what we've been doing at St. Vincent Early Learning Center.
Thank you, Krista. You guys are doing amazing work down there, and I'm so thankful that you agreed to present with us today. Okay, everyone, we have 8 minutes. So I would like to open the floor to anyone who would like to ask any questions or provide any feedback to our presenters today. And you can use the chat function, or you can raise your hand, and I will call on you just so that we all don't unmute at the same time. But yeah, the floor is all of yours.
Got to have some questions.
If there are no questions, can we just watch the rat a little bit more?
I think that's a great idea. Well, I have 4 in here, but.
What are your rat names?
Great question. I have Sorrel. Let's see. And I take these home every day. My kids, I mean, they go back home, and so here's Sorry. He's original. He's the original. During the pandemic, we found this to be. This is when I got the axolotls, and I could probably show you those as well. Those are an aquatic salamander, but Sorrel is number 1. Got him in 2020 and did remote learning with him, and really meaningful learning opportunity there. We have. I think I left Tiny at home, but I only have 2 with me today. But this is Iro. He's giant. He's a Dumbo rat. The kids love journaling him because notice the ears are different placement. And he's got those wide eyes, so we get a lot of good art with the circular eyes. People get a little bit freaked out by the tail, but so this is who we have today. But the rest are at home.
Thank you for sharing. Does anyone have any questions of our presenters or comments? I think Allison's going to show us some water salamanders. My goodness. Allison, you're on mute if you're talking, but.
Those are so cute.
So this is an aquatic salamander, and this is Sally. And that you'll see those fuzzy things are their external gills. This is the cool part about, these salamanders is they are stuck in that juvenile phase. And so they come in a couple different patterns, but they're originally from Mexico City, and actually their habitats have been destroyed. So a lot of the axolotls you see are actually, pets. But the neat thing about this is, like a salamander, we have 2 lives, amphibian means 2 lives. Well, land and sea, land and water. But these guys only stay in water, which is great with our licensing code. They have to stay in the aquariums so we can have, we can have them. Amphibian here. Aren't they fun? Can you guys see them pretty well? So we have, this is
yeah.
Mama in the back, the kids named that one, and then Sally, and then Johnny is in the back, but with Sunshine. And so I have quite a big setup here. The kids have actually made, and I have journal, books, and they made with bubble wrap, little artwork there. But the science, we have eggs incubating here. But that's kind of like our science area. I have, I'm saying little baby ones as well in the other tank. But yeah, it's kind of a nice thing. If you'd like one, reach out to me. We can make it happen. I've been giving them to educators and just trying to promote that science in the classroom.
Thank you so much. I have never seen one of those before. They are so cute.
Easy to take care of as well. They eat earthworms, so that's why you have a worm farm. We're completely sustainable when it comes to, there's really low cost. Yeah.
Laura's suggesting she needs an
Laura,
offer salamander in our chat.
Sounds like Laura needs one. But again, you know, being able to get these to educators as well, you know, giving them either a discount or being able to make that happen. I would love to help support anybody's science journeys, but just reach out and we can get you one. Yes, I can show you the worm farm for sure. I had enough for each cohort because of the pandemic. We had to break up, you know, classrooms into pods. So actually I had, what was it, 8 worm farms yesterday, being able to make them. But what you do is it's just a bin here. I have a paper towel that was wet. Uncle Jim's is a good way to get the food for them and your worms there and the red wigglers. So that's food sprinkled on the top. If you know about composting, you know, you can put food inside here and be okay. Now I would have to say, be careful in the classroom because you're going to get an odor. You know, you want to be careful what you put in there. But you know, you can see can you see all these worms in here? I don't know if you can see it or not. But the kids love them, being able to journal in your science journal, being able to, you know, even take them from the playground, put them back. The cool part is the axolotls eat them. Maybe you want to see me feed one. I mean, I don't know if that's something you're interested in, if we have time, but maybe another time. It's up to you, Megan, but.
People seem interested.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get a couple worms out of here, out of the worm farm. You can see them wiggling and the kids think it's neat. Now, I don't let them touch the aquarium water. I don't let them feed them just because I want to, like I said, I'm a rule follower and I really want to make sure that the licensing code is followed. So the grown-up will do this. And my assistant is amazing. It takes a special person to be able to, you know, put up with some of these science shenanigans, but I'm blessed to have a wonderful team and administration to be able to support, you know, good things for kids to have happen. If you, here it is, I don't know, this is going to be tricky. So what they do is they suck it in. Can you guys see? Here it goes in. I'm going to bring it down. Oh, we missed. Here, I'm going to dump some in there. Here, Sally. So can you see? Oh, here they come. Oh, I missed. That's the hard part is, but what they'll do is they'll suck it. Do you see her? She just did it. Can you see it?
You're a little too low. There we go.
She just kind of sucked it in and ate it. But it's been, let's see if I can get it. There we go, to Sunny. Can you see it there? He's coming. No. Oh, you got to eat it. Go ahead, Sunny. Here he goes. Whoop! Did you see that? Sucked it right in. But again, you know, be able to use tongs. If you don't feel like putting your whole hand in, you know, you can use tongs. I mean, that's probably preferred.
Well, thank you so much. I think you taught us all something today, as did the rest of you. I haven't been to a science lesson in a very long time, so I appreciate it. A lot of us in the chat wish that we went to your guys' classrooms or that these were our preschool experiences when we were young. So we thank you all very much for sharing all of the great work that you're doing. For reference again to everyone, I will be uploading this recording and sharing it on our website. There you will be able to find more about our presenters and their emails if you want to get in contact with any of them. Thank you all so much for joining us. A big round of applause to all of our presenters today and to all of you guys.